it's always like behind. We're always the delay. Whoa. I got to figure out how you don't delay. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. It's the illusion reporting from somewhere from somewhere on Spaceship Earth with promo code, aka Jordan Richter here live on a Sunday night, doing what we do, bringing the finest of two dads riding the skaterix of life. What's going on, man?
I skated today for the first time in a long time. Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, it was fun.
What was the move of the day for you?
The move of the day was backside power slide, shove it out.
Backside power slide in the bank.
On the bank, yeah. I'd like a backside power slide and then like a late shove it, and then just kind of come in and like
really shove it out of the power slide.
Yeah, and you got to look back and you got to like drag your hand and try to like, I think they call it steezing it out or something like that.
You steezed?
Yeah, I know. My son was filming me, and so he's like, "Do a trick," and then that was what I pulled away with a fun little trick. I didn't really do much. I was just cruising and carving and feeling it. Wasn't really trying to do anything.
Backside power slide to shove it. I don't think that's anything to shirk at as I explore that in my mind. That's fully committed, splayed out, and then popping back into it.
It was a very, very small slide. Let me see if I have it.
A little squeak. It was just a little squeak.
Yeah, it was a squeak.
It was more than a squeak. Did your hand touch the ground?
Oh, no, it didn't.
Oh, okay. I got you. It was a little disco move.
I nothing to write home about.
It was almost like you had roller skates on.
Yeah, it was a fun day. It was fun.
It was a fun
just cruised around.
Skating with you, boy. That's cool. Your boy's filming your clips.
Yeah. He's skating better than me now, which is pretty rad.
When are you taking him to Buc-ee's?
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know if I'm gonna take him anywhere. He has his.
Oh, so it didn't go that smooth after all this afternoon.
We'll see. No, he just got. My friend bought all the, his best friend, his dad, who's a good friend of mine, bought him a Glock BB gun. It literally says Glock on it. And so like, little brown kid, and they're like four black kids. I'm like, not good for you to go on shooting outside with something that looks identical to a Glock.
Running around the neighborhood with the Glock, does it at least have the orange tip?
No, it needs to. So we need to spray paint. It's spray painted all orange or yellow, so it looks like a Nerf gun at least.
Oh wow! Oh, it's all black.
It's all black. Straight.
Sketchy, dude.
So sketchy.
Oh, bro, don't let him have your trench coat.
Yeah. Glocks and trench coats. But we're good, man. We just the baby's been keeping me up late, but it's to be expected.
That's good. That's blessings.
Yeah. Me and my wife are getting closer nowadays, which is good. And babies, a lot of kids will do that,
Yeah.
I don't know, just working on the office and getting that going, and that's cool.
Yeah, I can see it. It needs it looks like you're mid organizing.
Well, yeah, no, it's just a little disarray because we did some shipping.
That's good.
How about you?
It's the children will keep you on your toes, like really on your toes. Been a tough week in the trenches with the teenager. It's been a rough 10 days with the teenager. It's been on a rampage, man. On a rampage.
Yeah.
Trying to get her to come in for a landing is difficult, man. You know, she flaked on her mom this morning. So stood her mom up, dude. Just, you know, it's gotta time to face the music.
Yeah, that's never, you don't wanna flake.
Yeah, so it was a rough week like that. A little bit of surf this week, which was nice. Had a pretty epic surf day with my buddy. Still finding a little bit of that California gold on the coastline, which is always nice. And then you know, just life, man. Just trying to figure it out. Always. And then today was an interesting day. So remember I told you I'd run into that the woman who runs the school, the preschool.
Yeah.
And I had a meeting with her today, which was pretty cool. And she had a couple of her friends, and one of them was a college professor who had been escorted off of campus for not saucing and not doing it. So she's fired up to get it. And we're meeting with this pretty gnarly black preacher. I can't name him, but he's pretty well known. Yes. What's up, honey? Is Al giving you trouble? You better not. Yeah. And so it looks like, and he's put together a lot of charter schools in the area.
Okay.
So I think we're actually going to try to start a school. The one gal has like 16 acres of land up in the mountains that they've been trying to build on for like 8 years, and they're just done with trying to get the permit. So they're talking about us rolling in it was a real adult meeting. I have to say it's this thing where like we might actually be starting some sort of like off-grid new society school, because these people are all like, I know them all from our church. So they're all on our page. They're ready, you know, they're very much on the, like, we're going to have to build a parallel society thing. And I think the need's going to be here. I think there's sort of becoming a consensus, like we're willing to fight it out in California and like not flee, this is that kind of thing where if I get involved with this, it would definitely change my trajectory about what I'm planning on doing, which would be a cool thing. It's, you know, it's funny. It's something my wife's always said I should be doing anyhow, is getting an education thing going for the children and doing that. But now we got this gal who's a professor of marine biology, dude, who's she's a cool gal. She gets it. I totally see you doing that. Like I said last time, you know, one thing you might want to check out, I enrolled my son in an online program. It's a Waldorf Rudolf Steiner education. And it's really cool. It's, you know, he creates his own textbooks. So whatever subject they're working on for the day, they actually have to do all the artwork, whether it's math or science. So as they finish the year, they have a science textbook that they created by hand, a math textbook, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So, but it's this immersive learning that I think is very powerful. He loves it, which is cool. Well, yeah. It's funny because it's, you know, it was the marine. I started talking about the human Tesla coil stuff, and the science teacher was like, yeah, and we got into this cool conversation about Nikola Tesla and science and energy. And so these are all older women, you know, like
high frequency elementary.
Yeah. But they're like, it's an older demographic, which was cool. And again, it was very, because it was like I said, the thing I think took me, like, I forgot where I am in my own reality sometimes, where like they were like, tell us what do you think we should do? And I was, this is what I see going on. And I told them what we're up to and what's going on. I was even telling them about what we're doing, about, I got my buddy up there in the Muslim community and the East Bay trying to figure it out too. And I go, it seems like
I'm in the stage now where I just go and just get mad at people, but and just voice my frustrations openly. But there definitely reach a point where you need some infrastructure, you need organization, you need to rally people on, who have a like-minded goal or unified heart about something. It's really, really a great sign that you have people there that want to take action. I think I have people here too that do want to take action. I need to you're inspiring me, man. I need to relax and actually like put pen to paper and start figuring.
Well, it's that thing, is, it's funny, as I've been thinking a lot about this lately, is the fact that as many of us get ready to abandon our attachment to the system, like, the system's going to do, like, there seems to be this shift going on where people realize that we need to like back away from the system and not cause trouble on the way out the door, right? Leave the party without stealing the keg, right? When I was one of those guys, when we were leaving the party, we were stealing the keg too, and we were ready to like get into all the chaos that would require us by stealing the keg from the party, bro, right? And we weren't bringing any of the other people.
You put the keg on top of your head and walk out.
We were stealing the keg to take back to our private Idaho, right? And so I think that's where people are realizing, is in order to really pull this off, we have to leave the system without trying to take anything with us and let the system implode on itself. This like elementary school teacher, well, she's a college professor. She's like, look, man, it can't sustain itself with what's going on. And she was talking about all the online classes and shutting it down. And I had my buddy on last night. We're starting, my friend Stuart, he's the college professor out in Oklahoma. We're doing a show every other week here. And he was saying the same thing. It's like they had canceled, like they'd shut the school down for 2 weeks. And that's what this gal was saying. She's like, dude, it's crazy. They've wrapped the whole college campus. It's like a small college up in Oxnard, but they've wrapped the whole campus in cyclone fencing. And there's only like 2 entry exit points on the thing. And she's like, they shut it down and they can't keep up with the online when they do it. And the system's like, it's imploding on itself. And she we were very much on the same page, which was cool, of like, look, like once this next demographic breaks free, which is the ones, I think the next demographic to break free is the ones that have been playing along, like, all right. And now they see that the point of diminishing returns. Like, all right, like, what are we doing here? None of this stuff's working. You're wanting more. It's not working. Enough. We're out. And I think that when that iceberg cleaves, I think that's when it's going to shift. And these people were basically, we need to just be in position to offer a better product. And I was like, yeah, that's it. Like, let's a better product. Because I think people are really starting to find out you don't need the institutionalized learning systems anymore. Like, it just doesn't serve anybody except.
I mean, a lot of parents, I think, are at a stage now where they just want their kid to be in a safe place that is going to give them, some basic education, but they're going to be safe from all the indoctrination of public school system. They want to make sure that, parents are trying to make ends meet. They're working to freaking just take care of the basics. And, it's hard to have a kid at home for homeschooling, and still do homeschooling. And then if you have, home, at home, both parents working, it's challenging. So,
well, I think
I'm sure there's a lot of parents that would love to have that,
I think that that's where everybody's beginning to see that. For those of us, or I think that's what I mean, is this next demographics to break off is going to be the ones that realize that even none of their stuff is safe anyhow. So they're better off to try to figure it out while they can. And they're going to look for places to land and be like, so what are you guys doing? And we're up here doing this, and like we're kind of got it rolling. Because I don't think I think the homeschooling model is like great on a certain level, but I think for what's with the societal collapse issue, I don't think that's going to cut the mustard, because you're going to need actual rally points, which could be called institutions, to like congregate and allow people the freedom to do what they need to do on the side, like you said, these parents that do need to show up and do what they
I agree.
do.
Having the physical interaction between kids and having I mean, people who are doing homeschool or teaching homeschooling as well, they're not really tapping into their full skill set. You have these teachers that have had to shift and go online, and it's very difficult to like get a kid to commit to hours on end in front of a computer, and it gets tiring, but when you're physically there, obviously it's a whole different story.
Well, I think the model's changing of what I think that's one of the interesting parts, is the model is changing of what is education. I think that people are really beginning to see that what we do as education is a fail at this point. Like that, it's not like our educational proficiency is going up. It's going backwards. And people are starting to see the damage the last 2 years of institutionalized education's had on their children, and they're looking for a way out. And I think it's what you said there, is the homeschooler thing's been very much on the homeschool thing as homeschoolers, but now you have all these teachers walking away from the system too, and the teachers want to teach. Like this gal, like she just wants to teach. She doesn't care where, like she's like that. She's like a skateboarder. Like, I teach. Like, where do I put me somewhere where I can teach? I don't care if it's the middle of some dirt lot up in the Santa Monica mountains with a cargo container as our classroom. Just give me someone to teach. And I think that's where we're gonna get the thing is all these teachers that have like been like, I'm out, man. I don't want anything to do with this anymore. This is madness, and it's not going to get any better. And the teachers union sucks, and the state of California sucks. And so what are we going to do? I don't want to leave. So let's make some school happen. And
yeah, it's a freaking crazy time. Yeah,
it comes down to the whole thing. Little House on the Prairie. It was literally a room with a teacher.
Yeah.
I think we've it's so over institutionalized. Like, you don't need all these buildings. You don't need. We're in Southern California. The weather's our friend. You don't even need a building. You just need something that's some shade. Really,
I mean,
kids can plant the trees.
Doing it, and I mean, still to this day, you have kids in different parts of the world learning under a shaded tree, and they gather around, and they have a great teacher, and it's really the teacher that brings the value.
No, I'm so that's been kind of a neat development, like where it's going. Like it's I've noticed the quickness of some of the progress of some of these things is like, it's very much. I think the level of like, people are hungry to build some new systems. like in a way that we've never seen before in our society. I think people are like hungry to see what they can do on all levels of this thing of like, well, why can't we anymore? It doesn't, whatever's going on here, it works. Yeah, the highways are nice. Like they work great. Like the stop signs are seem to be super functional, but the buildings don't seem to be, seem to be getting a lot of bang for our buck anymore. And I think people are like, well, we can do a better job, can't we?
Yeah, I think before the buildings is you build the people, and then the building will come later, but
that's what I mean is like all we have is like in our society right now, all we have is buildings.
Yeah,
and
they're big buildings and big institutions with nothing in there. They're dead.
Yeah. There's no excitement around them anymore. And so I think I see something inspiring happen. You never know how these things are going to play out, but it's good to see. And then we had the big earlier this week, we kind of like pushed back on the big Santa Monica attempted to mandate everything with the passports. And we got in there and pushed back, a little ragtag group of resistance did the thing. And, I think people are starting to see what I've been warned about last week is the mandate grifters. Even my pastor today called it out. He's like, he said something where it was like he was right on the same page I said about these people making money off of this resistance thing. And so I think we're starting to see people waking up to the fact that a lot of the people that are claiming to be the resistance to the mandates and what's going on are just grifting the system to line their own pockets. Like I heard my pastor as much say so today, which kind of, I got, oh, right on, dude. Like he sees it too. And I think that's good. Cause it definitely is a community responsibility thing where like, if this one gal hadn't read the agenda items at Santa Monica, we wouldn't have been there. Like, so, we showed up. So that was kind of rad.
It's good. Very good.
And then
heard about the rabbi that was Texas rabbi grateful to be alive as the synagogue hostage taking place.
Yeah. Something deeper is going on down there. Well, that's all tied to some weird terrorists.
Of course, it was a Muslim.
Allegedly. I mean, it's not any surprise. Like, look at
Muslim.
Well, look at even
not Muslim, by the way, not Muslim. It's Muslim. That's how
Muslim, like the cloth, like muslin, like the cloth.
Muslim
or
a Muslim.
Well, I think
the right way.
There seems to be like an awakening going on, especially about this Palestine issue, man. 50 years late, but better late than never, I guess.
I think that the crown, there's a restructuring right now with the crown. Queen Elizabeth is almost on her way out. The crown and the old guard is leaving, and they're bringing the new, the king and queen, Kate Middleton and whatever the other guy's name is. So was the coronavirus is the crown, the process of the new being brought in. So I think this whole thing could evaporate in the next.
Well, they seem to be trying to shut it down, from what I can tell. From what I gathered, they're kind of they're looking for an exit strategy on it, and the numbers aren't going in their direction. That gal up at the CDC really blew it by coming out and saying, they've really blown it with some of the stuff they've said over the last, couple of weeks about like, Fauci, doctor, what are we calling him? We're calling him Tony Science came out, with this, like, there's the difference between they have it and they're with it kind of thing, which I think a lot of people were like, wait a minute. And then you had the big 75% number out of the CDC, and it just seems to be evaporating before our very eyes. I think they're trying to rewrite history on the fly, dude. I think their gig right now is they're trying to circumvent all the people like us so that no one can go.
Well,
Those kids were right.
Are waking up. I think people are waking up. That doesn't minus the fact that they've injected all these people with graphene oxide.
Oh no, dude! Like, I think that's
when you turn on radio frequency. Depending on the type of RF frequency that's hitting a person, I'm hoping that won't be the case over the next. They're doing the number G launch in about 4 days nationwide. So hopefully that's not going to cause a nationwide tripling or quadrupling of fatalities.
Well, I tend to think that there's,
I don't want to think that, but I'm like, at this point, it would be advantageous for them to do that, because that's what they've been working for, that end for a long time, and you don't get this far and not do that. I don't know. I mean, who knows? But
Owl, what do you need, buddy?
It's a possibility. Not to get Richie from Boston on you.
Well, I do, like, I think there's a component of that. It's just, I think that there's an aspect too of I see them as a little bit more like I think they laid some tracks. Right? Like some deep try. I don't. Owl, what do you need? Well, then come on, bud. You're supposed to be asleep. Well, hey, buddy, after the trouble earlier today, I don't want to hear it. Okay. All right.
And I know, man. Like, you ever seen those videos where you see like the RF playing right next to the graph, right next to like music or sound playing next to graphene oxide, and what it does, how it activates?
Oh yeah, I highly believe that there's a super nefarious subcode to this whole thing. There's something else going on though that I can't quite figure out. Like you can tell they're looking to wrap this thing up, right? Like they've let go of the narrative. They're kind of winding it down. They seem to have enough of these Commonwealth nations under lock and key right now. They don't seem to like be wanting to let them unlock. There just seems no desire from the Commonwealths to free up their citizenry at this point. So I think it might be a little bit of a slow twist.
You just kind of said it though. I mean, the reason why I'm not changing my stance, because I'm always hopeful. But if you read this, you remember the whole the Rockefeller lockstep, the whole Rockefeller, what do you call, annual report? I don't know if it's the annual report, but they say that after the pandemic is over, people will be it'll be so ingrained in people, they already will be trained so that everything is over, but the masses will be okay, and for whatever totalitarianism that's in place, they're just okay with it. So I do think there's going to be two classes. I mean, there's going to be more classes of people, but it's going to be distinctly the middle class, as we know it, is going to break up into two, and those who are, asserting their rights and their freedoms, and those who don't care to. So, but
no, I get where you're going. What I guess my take on it is a little bit of that is I think they've put the mechanisms in place where they've essentially psychologically kettled all these people, right? They've kettled them into their urban enclaves. And once they've kind of got that all sussed out, I think that's when you kick in their thing where it's not going to be, I think there's a certain aspect where it's like, when we think they're going to flip on the stuff and people are all of a sudden going to be doing, fishing out on the floor like a fish in the back of a boat.
No, I don't think that's going to be.
I think they're going to turn it on and do the slow cook inside these.
The slow cook.
Slow cook in these apartments, in these urban centers where, people's life expectancy drops and you're not really going to be able to catch up to it till, 2035, whenever their number is.
So that's my feeling too. We might get a couple, we might get the old Chinese man dropping on the stair set, event, occasionally.
Well, I think we got that already.
But
don't we have that already? It's just being sort of folded into, how many more soccer players do they need to do, fall face first on the middle of the tarmac, I think that's already happening. It's just the sleight of hand about it is, does anyone really care? I mean, look, dude,
you'll own nothing and be happy. And I think that is like sort of the sentiment now, is that people, whatever's happened. My friend told me this yesterday. She's like, yeah, my friend who didn't want to take the sauce. She said her dad got it, and she noticed him change over the period of a few months, where he's no longer this sweet, kind man he used to be. He's short-tempered. He has outbursts. He's angry, and he never was that before. Something is, and I've seen it with people I know, that there's something that's fundamentally different. It might just be the nature of the world, but it also might be some other things going on. But I thought that was interesting, because there is a sort of a lull. People are just sort of okay with whatever, it's okay, I'll just shut my business down. It's okay, I'll just, just get on universal basic income. And oh, my friend got COVID. It's okay. He's such a cool guy. COVID's fun, actually. Got to take off like 14 days and just chill out. It's like it's become like a bragging, like a badge of honor, like how AIDS was at one point. Like, he's a great guy. He's HIV positive. He's okay. That's kind of what it's. That's what I'm reading. But hey, I might be. Yeah.
Well, it seems that's what it seems to be dressing itself up as, right? Like, those who don't want to make a move now are ultimately consigned to the kettling. Like, those of us who want to make, I think from what I can see is, it's a big, like, it is really like that middle of the road Germany thing was like, hey, look, dude, we told you guys you can take everything and you can leave. You guys can take your business, your money, you can sell all your stuff, you can grab your assets and go. And I think we're sort of at that middle thing. It's like, look, dude, you guys can take most of your assets, but you got to leave the infrastructure behind. You don't have time to sit around and sell your houses and do that. But you guys, the door's open. And that's what this, I think, parallel society thing is like, look, dude, don't try looting us on the way out the door. Just you guys, just go set up your stuff. Mind your own business, do your thing. We don't want anything to do with you. Obviously, all connected with God and your sovereignty and all that. Great. You're contractually, we can't touch you according to the higher rules of of this dimension. We really want all these other, 80% of the population that serve themselves up to us to just go by, do your thing, you guys. And then
I exactly think the same thing. I almost think it's almost like an honor, like from their perspective, it's like a battle honor. Like you guys, like respect on the battlefield. Like, okay, you guys fought for your stance. You can keep what you want. Just, it's almost like it's like a jousting that happened, and with there's like a mutual respect there.
I do think this far into the game is like, look, if there was going to be some sort of real authoritarian move, we wouldn't be sitting here right now. They know exactly who we are. They know exactly what we're up to. They know right where my house is. They know what I'm all about. If they wanted to, I think, but it's really, a little bit of that big bear. They're like, all right, as long as you guys aren't trying to take the doors with you, you guys are more than welcome to like walk away. You're not going to cost us anything. Just don't try taking your hush money. Just keep the hush money coming, pay your taxes, disappear into the woodwork. And when if you get a parking ticket, pay it, dude. And stop trying to think you're going to beat us with your crypto. Enough. You guys, we gave you silver and gold. Yeah, you guys got the silver and gold. Now go. You can take that, you can make your jewelry, and you can trade it amongst yourselves for your picks and your axes and your things and whatever weirdness your unpasteurized milk. Like, you can do that. Just don't come here with trying to get our servers and our copper wire. They're meth heads. The funniest, I think one of that summed it up for me was, did you see the bit that Big Bear did about the $1,000 at Home Depot, and you're a meth head, and you get what a meth head would build with $1,000 from Home Depot is essentially like a lunar lander. I was like, that's it. Like when we did
that's
this
actually
thing,
very accurate.
yeah, because I saw it again at the Santa Monica City Council meeting, right? I'd never checked in Santa Monica City Council before. And I'm listening to these guys, and they are like the biggest group of buffoons you've ever met. Like, they're just trying to do their dumbest. And because nobody showed up and nobody's paying any attention to them, they're getting away with it, but they're not getting it away with it because they have any sort of like slickness to them. They're really just getting away with it because nobody's like been like, oh, those are the nerdy buffoons. Those aren't even the cool D&D kids. Those are the real awkward, nerdy, like lamos, dude, that are running the show. Like, why are we afraid of them, dude? And I'm more inspired than not right now. I've got a healthy skepticism.
I'm still getting up and doing whatever I need to do and raising my family. I don't want to become overawed about the satanic design.
Nah, it's a waste of time.
But I do acknowledge that there's possibilities of different things, but I'm not either or. It is what it is. God is going to do what God's plan is perfect, and whatever is going to happen, he knows best. We don't know. We just can sort of look at patterns and assume, and a lot of the time we're wrong, or a lot of the time we are right, but it's of a different color or a different shade of what we originally thought it was. It looks like that, but it's a really bad version of that. It's like a Hollywood doctored up, propped up thing that isn't quite that amazing after all. But I think everything will be okay ultimately.
Oh yeah, no, I
think a lot of people are suffering in the process.
I think that's our deal is we're to be the landing pad for those who have finally like realized what's going on, like the soft landing for the newly awoke. I don't believe the danger is, I think the external danger is doing what the external danger does. I really begun to think that the ones we really got to keep our eye on are within our own ranks at this point, who are triple agents, you know, the gatekeepers that are the false support. You know what I mean? That they really aren't here to like, they're just hiding amongst us because they're too much of a cowards to like speak up for themselves, you know, and do anything to get it done. You know, the mandate grifter would be my angle on that. It's interesting. I'm reading this. There's like some lunatic in the chat. I'm just like, wait, let me catch up with this, dude. Now I'm lost. The dude was telling me he loved me like 5 minutes ago. Now I'm lost. I get it. All right. Don't delete the message. Wait, I want to see that. Oh, dude. Chrissy Boners, dude. Wait, hold on. Hold on, Chrissy Boners.
What a great name.
Yeah. Oh, we got a lunatic in the asylum. Yeah, this is this is exactly one of the people that you see within the ranks, dude, that are just so convoluted in their own logic of just it has to be the end, dude. It has to be doomsday or whatever it is, when it's like, no, I firmly see new beginnings heavily right in front of us.
I mean, the reality is that this has happened before, not in different ways. With technology didn't exist, but there's always been there's always been oppressive people, tyrants, who have tried to do harm to masses of people, and those who were hip to what they were doing would always find a way out, or a way around, or a way through. And that's what we're doing here. I mean, it's acknowledging what's possible. It doesn't mean that we have to live there and be doom and, you know, doomers. Richie from Bostoners. The FEMA camps are coming. Oh my God! You know.
Well, wait. You got. I don't really know the Richie from Boston thing. What, Chrissy Boner? Send me an email, please do. But what's the Richie from Boston thing? Is he one of these hyper paranoid like?
No, he's kind of like a Alex Jones, like a B version of Alex Jones, just kind of a, you know, FEMA camps, and they're trying to kill us, and they're gonna break down, you know, boots on the door. They're gonna boot our door in and all that stuff.
Yeah,
they're coming to get us. They're coming to get our kids. Well, you're taking your kids there.
That's all seems to be such a psyop, because if you dig into the Crow 777 sort of angle about it all, the next level to it all is like there's giant, you know, spiritual contracts and all sorts of like metaphysical paperwork that has to be filed before you can like have your soul yanked. You know, I still think people really are operating on a terrestrial level about this, when I go, no, they can't just come and zap your soul. Like, you actually have to like sign on the dotted line and be like, here, take it, dude. You know, it's, I always found, you know what, I read that book about the Scientology. I forget what it was named, about JPL and L. Ron Hubbard and the labs and the whole thing. And the thing that I found super interesting was just, in order to become a Scientologist, you have to sign your life away for 1 billion years, man. And I'm like, that is such like that thing where like, they know the Scientologists are.
I used to live with Jason Lee, man. That guy was It was strange.
Oh, he's a Scientologist?
He was a full bore. I used to live with him and Giovanni Ribisi, and I used to go over to Ribisi's house. They're full on Scientologists. They tried to convert me, but I didn't have any money, and I couldn't cognify with it. I couldn't understand that it was just too technical, so they kind of left me alone. Plus, I didn't have any money. So
yeah. Well, it's a giant money laundering operation.
They like to have money. I needed to go on the ship and take niacin and do some auditing, and I couldn't. I guess I couldn't swing that.
You didn't want to hold the soup cans?
Yeah. So weird.
But I just find it to be super interesting that, like, when you dig into a lot of this stuff, they're very aware of how potent your soul is. And you know, the you know, call them the elites, call them what you will. They're very aware of that those who protect their soul with God's blessings you have to do a lot of work to get those people like into your soul grinder, if you will, you know. And I think that's what's going on for those who haven't armored their souls. They're you know, they're subject to the whims of anything, you know. That it's the same kind of lunatic that would fly halfway across the country to go run into the hive nest of the enemy, dude. You know, the enemy base camp, and think that was a good idea. Like, who thought that was a good? I don't get who thought that was I looked at it. I was like, I thought for a moment, I was like, I'll be cool. And then I was like, wait a minute, like, why would I show up at the headquarters of the evil empire and think anything good would come of that, dude? I'm gonna stay back and do what I do, dude. Like, people are crazy, dude.
Scoville, he was telling me, Jordan, tell us a story about Jason Lee and Scientology. Well, I do think Jason eventually got out of it. When he moved to Texas, I think that was where he had left it. But Jason, I don't know if he's still, maybe he's not in it anymore, but I lived with him, and that was like, Jason was extremely, he was a really bad hypochondriac. So if I left if I would leave the cheese, like we had, like, you know, meat or cheese in a Ziploc bag in the refrigerator, if I left it a little bit of air inside it, he would get super paranoid and say, dude, if you don't zip it, like, he would literally want to hit me, you know, literally. He said, if you don't zip it all the way, then LSD is going to get inside it, and I'm going to trip out and die. So
you're LSD.
Huh?
You're LSD.
No, I'm saying Jason Lee was very paranoid.
No, but where was the LSD that he was worried about?
It was just going to come from anywhere. Nowhere. It was just.
Oh, it wasn't the 50 sheets you had in the freezer.
LSD. No. That came from Josh Swindell, by the way. Yeah. And then Josh Swindell winded up the karma that Josh got for that. He went to jail for almost 20 years for murder. You know.
Oh, he's the dude who fed you the acid?
Yeah.
Really?
Then he went to jail for 15 years. He did in prison.
Interesting.
No, I was just saying that Jason, I can't remember much of that time, but living with Jason was interesting.
So that's interesting. You were living with Jason Lee and Ribisi at the same time. That's like what Ribisi's doing Boiler Room right around then?
Ribisi was doing no, this was 92, 93.
It's before he's even doing it. It's like right when he's trying to get going.
He was on like sitcoms.
Interesting.
And then Jason was just getting into it, and Jason was dating Marissa Ribisi.
Okay.
Marissa, so their mom, the Ribisi mom, is the one that's like full on Scientologist. And Ahmed Zappa would come over there. He was a big Scientologist. and they would just have these like weekly, I don't know what they call them, audits, where I guess they feel that if they audit themselves, the hell out of themselves, they audit, they can ascend to some like divine status through their, they believe they can be perfected. It's
Well,
really weird.
that's sort of
But I think
like
Jason did leave, to his credit. I think he did leave. I can't confirm that, but I've heard that he left.
well, that's interesting. I don't think it's any different than doing the fourth step in AA a bunch of times. Like clean that wreckage up, baby. The one thing that I had a buddy of mine who went off the deep end, and one of the dudes and we had him locked up and 5150'd, and one of the dudes one of his buddies was
it Scientology?
Very well-known, big deal Scientology dude. And the one thing that I thought that I fully like roll with the Scientologist is about the pharmaceutical stuff, man. Like they're spot on about the pharmaceutical stuff. Like that's the interesting part about them. When you like really listen to their whole take about the pharmaceutical meds and the rapists, like I agree with them on that.
How do we get into Scientology now?
What's that?
How do we get into Scientology? No, I know how we got into it. I just think it's.
But it was very interesting dealing with this dude, because we were both, him and I were, and I surf with this guy. I know him well enough. And it was very interesting dealing with this cat at the gates of it, because like you wouldn't know he was one of these dudes, but like his whole thing was about the pharmaceutical, man. And like, no, and we gotta like, this is all the like natural stuff we can do to help this dude get balanced back out. And I like, that's where I wanted, like, it's a very interesting thing. Like, I do wonder what the Scientologist take on this whole Kufarama is, man, because they're so opposed to the pharmaceutical industry and what they were doing with the SSRIs and all that stuff. I can't see them rolling over on the Koof sauce, man, but maybe they have, I don't know. I guess Cruz is all Koof sauced up, right? He's Koof crazy.
Is he?
I don't know. He's the leader, isn't he? Isn't he like the number two spook? I find they're a very interesting organization, man. I do.
You ever heard of the Babylon working thing with Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard?
Yeah. Supposedly they're the one who conjured up Hillary Clinton.
Well, Trump was born in that same year as the Babylon working.
Well, it's funny.
Who knows? Maybe.
Well, it's the interesting thing is I do like when you talk about like the thing is I do believe that the door closes when the orange man's put back in there, and people are going to be like, "Oh, whoa, dude, we brought in the end of it all." Like that dude
orange man's going to come back in. I think you're right about that.
And when he does, people are going to think that he's going to be all rah for all this stuff, and he's going to be the dude who yanks all the Second Amendment stuff.
You know what's interesting is what was that guy? The name of this guy. Very fiery guy. What the hell is his name? He was a Hispanic guy, was allegedly a car dealer. Then he became a multi-billionaire. He's called the trillion dollar man is what his name is. He was a very avid. He was the first, allegedly first Trump supporter. I don't like to use that term, but he was the first guy to vote for Trump. What was the guy's name?
I don't know.
So, anyways, he had said one of his
John Elway.
No. It was, John Pena. John Pena or whatever. So, anyways, just hear me out. What he said, I'll tell it short. He said people don't understand what's happening. He's going to come back, and he said, King. He referred to the Don as King Trump, He says, you heard it here first, King Trump, and he's going to be a king. He said this 3 years ago. So I'm just putting it out there that we might see.
I think people are so on this thing of they need to follow someone over the cliff, that's the perfect end gamer to the whole thing on the hustle is like, that's the guy to do it. Because the people that follow him are the perfect ones to go. Like they're all the gung-hoers, all the weak-minded, let's go Brandon crowd. I went on a rant the other week about that is like the weakest of the weak ways to go. It's just, why don't you just say what you mean instead of, I saw a truck today that had the let's go Brandon. I go, why can't you just go the big FJB, dude? Like the whole thing across, why with the little high school hiding thing, dude? They're so susceptible to this thing. So I see that that's where it's all going to be. If we're not ready and broken away from that whole mindset, we're done. I do, who I do appreciate all of a sudden that's on the move is Flecka. Flecka's launched the whole Dan Crenshaw sucks thing, dude, which is rad. Like Flecka Talks is on the move. Do you remember Flecka? Flecka was pretty good. He's the dude who used to interview people with the wooden kitchen spoon and wear the safety vest. He had a beard, kind of heavy, fatter dude. I'm out the loop. Flecka was rad, dude. But he's on Rumble and stuff, just full carpet bombing Dan Crenshaw, which I do like. I have to admit, I get a kick out of it, dude. At this point, I just want to bring sarcasm and humor and FU and like the whole Monty Python, SNL, living color mentality back to our reality. Because Kanye did it the other day. How about Kanye the other day?
What is it?
Dude, you didn't see the you didn't see the Kanye thing?
No, look it up.
Bro, it's so good, dude. I was so pumped. Maybe it was today, dude. Dude, it's Kanye, dude, but read his caption, dude. You see it? So Kanye, someone was getting an autograph and he knocked him out and he said, that blue COVID mask didn't stop the knockout.
Pretty good.
It's so good, dude. I'm gonna give it, Romano goes off about one of the best characters in the whole sitcom that is American celebrity is Kanye. He just makes me laugh. Like he really does, dude. Like that, when my teenager was going off the deep end and I was scrolling through and I saw that and I was like, I'm not even going to start laughing till I verified that that's a true story. And then once I did, I just sat there and chuckled for 10 minutes, just laughing. Like, that's so great.
But he's known as Yee.
Yee, dude. Yee. Yeah, dude, the dude's top notch, man. He is funny, dude. Yee.
He's worth 1.8 billion, which is quite a lot of money.
Is it? I mean, it's not enough, is it?
No.
Yeah, but I just love.
His name is North Sam in Chicago.
Yeah, I like North. That's a great name, man.
Oh, okay. I'm not really a fan of Yee, but it's all good.
Yeah, I'm a big. I got that Kanye album in my rotation, the gospel one, and I'll have to admit, when one of his songs, one of his songs comes up, I do find it very much inspirational. You know, whatever that what is that album called? I let it just drift into my playlist, and then it will show up out of the blue, one of the songs, you know, on the shuffle. And I'll be like, dang, that's a pretty, like, that's got it, man. I needed that, dude. So he's tapping into something. What it is, I don't know. What's the album? Jesus is King, duh. I'm a fan. I don't really like most.
Jesus.
What's that?
But then he calls himself Jesus, right? Isn't that?
But that was a while ago, dude.
Oh, okay.
I thought he brought a certain level of like what we needed when we needed it. I thought the bullet.
I'm a little tough on Kanye.
Well, we all should be, but I think there's a certain aspect of if you're looking at front and center personalities, that at least I like that. The bulletproof vest speech about the abortion thing and like was so gnarly, dude. And I was like, ain't nobody doing that, dude. You know, that was heavy.
What was it?
Remember that? Like, I think it was during the last election cycle, he was in the bulletproof vest. And when he was running for president for a minute, he was in his bulletproof vest and he went on about like his like not like abortion, dude. And it was just, I don't know whether he was saying his mom might have wanted to have an abortion with them or somebody, or he did, or what. It was just so gnarly. And he was like crying and he's got his bulletproof vest on, dude. And he's like really like talking about some deep, messed up human stuff. And it's the kind of stuff that you can't make that up. You can't like fake it, like, and so like, yeah. And then he goes off and he's like, you know, sort of this douchebag parent, and yeah, I don't really know. And then you'll hear his thing about his like town that he wants to build out in Wyoming, and you'll be like, oh, right on. And then you'll be back to like, oh, he's like a douchebag rap star, and then he'll be back. He'll do like he's very. There's something that I do appreciate with the constant plot development that he brings to the script of the show. He's not a lame character.
I think Ira is just really good at spinning these stories and using people like Kanye.
Oh, sure.
Unbeknownst of, I don't even think, well, maybe Kanye knows he's a willing participant that.
Well, I think from what I can get from him is it's Ira's let him be.
Kanye, he's gonna be wonderful, kid. You're gonna look. We're gonna match you up with a beautiful, beautiful white lady named Kim Kardashian. Beautiful. You have lots of money. The only thing, Kanye, is your father-in-law is not really a father-in-law. You know what I mean? It's gonna be, he's gonna be a father-in-law, and then he's gonna go through this transition. And,
but I think he breaks through. I think he's one of those dudes that tries to pop out of the thing and just, it's like that. Remember that line that you thought you got out of the mob and then they pulled you right back in thing. I think that there's a part of the story where they're like, we need this dude, and when he gets a chance, he kind of spits out some like, whoa, there it is. Like, did you hear it? And just the message was there. Like that interview he does with the black dude who's like, he's shocking when Kanye's talking about the plantation and the whole stuff is like, Kanye can be as much as Ira's pet as he wants to be, but that little nugget, man, that freed a bunch of like minds out there where like a bunch of people were like, whoa, like, huh, like, yeah, like, so I don't know, man. He's a mixed bag. He's a mixed bag of nuts.
See, it works. It works for you or people like me who can appreciate some of those moves. But the way that I see it is that because the average fan who's really invested in the personality of anyone like Kanye West or anyone of that magnitude, they could be set free at some point, but then they'll be, they'll follow Kanye everywhere, metaphorically online and whatever he does, and he'll do one thing that'll sort of that'll restructure that original view or belief, and so it just kind of nullifies.
I know what you're saying. Well, again, is for those who live,
I could appreciate any truth from.
We're peripheral. We're peripheral. We're not invested in the ratings of the show. Like, there's the crowd that's waiting to figure out who gets the Grammy at the end of the year. And then there's the people that could care less. And we're the people who could care less.
I can't wait to see who's going to get the Grammy.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I'm waiting. And still do homeschooling. Whoops. Sorry.
So I think that's where, like, there's that difference is like, it's like the weirdos who would walk through the gate of the Travis Scott show and just be like, this is the guy. I'd be like, nah, it's good, dude. I've lived it, dude. I was all invested in Fish once, dude. I've been invested in my rock and roll. And
what was your favorite rock band if you had one to pick?
Ween. I'm a Ween guy all day long, dude. But I mean, if you were to ask me like what would be the one album
Weenist guy all day long.
Yeah, I'm Ween all day. I'll paint the town brown, dude, for sure. But if you were to ask me what would be the one album that I could put on repeat till the end of time, it would be Bob Marley Uprising. Like that's my soundtrack. That's the answer to the whole riddle right there, is that one album. Lays it all down, dude. I bought this VW bus. This 1969 Camby camper van, right? I bought it in 1988 or something, 89, maybe 90, somewhere in there. And back when cassettes would play, and the only cassette tape this VW bus would play was Bob Marley Uprising, dude. And the Bob Marley Uprising tape was just in there for the 2 years I had it, just the whole time. I drove down to, we did a big road trip with this other car down to the tip of Baja and back for like, a month and a half, surfing everywhere. And these dudes brought like these boxes of cassette tapes, and their whole trip was, we're not going to listen to the same tape twice in their car. They were driving in this Jeep. Our trip was, we only got one tape, dude, for the whole trip, dude. Bob Marley Uprising, dude, just on repeat for years. It's funny that album pays dividends through this whole thing, dude. Like, if you really listen to that whole album, like right now, it's the answer to everything that's going on, man. It's pretty trippy. What about you? What's your?
I had, for the longest time, I had 3 reggae artists that were always, that I would only play those 3 actually, for the most part. And that was King Kong, Nitty Gritty, and Tenor Saw. They were the 3. These were like old school reggae dance hall, but they were also, they had, Nitty Gritty was killed by the guy Super Cat. Super Cat killed Tenor Saw. That was the thing, I guess.
Super Cat, what a great name.
Super Cat.
Of course the Super.
Yeah, Nitty Gritty was he just had a beautiful voice, and I liked his voice. And he had some conscious stuff.
Well, it's funny you bring like right, 2 guys like us, like you fall back, like what's your takeaway reggae? And it's like reggae, like, right? Like I think that's one of the great tragedies for these new generations is the lack of that reggae is not part of the consciousness like it was when we were young. Like reggae really was this sort of the alternative to it all, right? Like you had all that stuff going on, and then those of us who gravitated towards reggae, like reggae was very, very deep, like not only like spiritually, but very political too. Like you can't listen to reggae and not hear hardcore politics in it. I mean, you know.
When I became Muslim, to be honest with you, when I became Muslim, I found out that reggae, the Rastafarians worshipped Haile Selassie, that's where I backed off. And that's the big, the issue that I had to come to grips with. Because when Haile Selassie came to Jamaica, it happened to rain that day, just because God willed it to rain. And then they started to literally call him the second coming of Jesus. So that's where I kind of checked out. But I still do listen to, from time to time, Tenor Saw, Nitty Gritty, and King Kong. But
yeah,
that was the big, that's the tough part, is that was the whole idol worship aspect of Rastafarianism.
Well, I mean, you look at it, makes a lot of sense. I mean, when you look I don't think any of us can truly understand the brutality of, the Caribbean and especially Jamaica during that, the 70s and coming into the 80s was just like, talk about hellscape. And then, you have to, you got to admit some of the Haile Selassie speeches to the UN are without a doubt, like the message of the healing of mankind, if heard and used properly. I mean, I find Haile Selassie a very interesting character.
He killed a lot of Muslims.
What's that?
He killed a lot of Muslims. He was very oppressive in that region, especially Ethiopia. And then that originally, the irony of it all is that Muslims originally went to King Negus during the time of the Prophet Muhammad and sought refuge, and they were given refuge. And you can look in the history books, attest to that. But Haile Selassie went and did the opposite and literally went on a genocide of. Well,
I mean, I think that's where you bump into, like, again, why he couldn't have been proclaimed, why you bump into the idolatry of it all. But I think, only one who knows can speak of what is the true abomination of humanity, right? Like, I do think there's a certain aspect of that coming from temporal man, right? Like, no, you can't be a saint here and talk about like what it is to overcome the darkness of this reality. I do think there's a certain, you look at like what, tomorrow's Martin Luther King Day, right? Like you can really dig into Martin Luther King and get a very, you could label him as a very negative character, right? Like very easily if you dig into Martin Luther King, and then you can go, well, there's a dude who had to struggle before God and speak as the best he could to pass whatever the message was through the cheesecloth of this human reality, man. I don't know if anybody's, that sort of is the trouble with it all, right? Is where do you separate the message that if God is the arbiter of everything, right? Where do you separate the words that come from God from the image, the creations of God that speak them, dude? I think that's the hard part is human beings, we want to throw out a lot of the babies with the bathwater. And
yeah, it's just I think it's when you say things like, when you attribute Lord of Lords, King of Kings, and phrases like that to any human being, that is a great diversion from what Jesus and Moses and Abraham and all the prophets taught.
For sure. Oh no, you're not. I'm not giving that on the Haile
that's
Selassie thing.
my yeah. All right, but that's my.
I'm just saying is before the world body. Yeah, you could look at the thing, and I think that's actually.
I see what you mean regarding. Yeah, I mean, well, it could be that, Benjamin Netanyahu could say some pretty cool stuff to some people at one point at the UN, or it could be that. No, but I know what you mean. Like there's a common thread that if it's truth, that, and it comes from someone like that, and then it's undeniable. A lot of the time it's utilized for that very reason it's an instrument or a tool to resonate or to forcibly resonate with the crowd so that they will, believe in you.
Or I think it's a lot of the thing is the information's out there, and it's like your struggle within your own community and my struggle within the church down here is anyone who puts anybody between them and God, you're subject to God knows what underneath the skin there, right? Like only God knows what they're truly thinking inside themselves. So anyone can come up and preach the word or deliver the word or have something to say that's truly valid to the ears that hear them. But I think one of our things with, like, for me, is the discernment is to separate what is the word coming through versus what is the fallen being. Because then, if it's right, if we're all sinners and if we all fall short on the thing, then every word that's ever been spoken throughout the history of humanity, except for, the few, is null and void. And I think that's where we have to pray and meditate and use our scripture and use our relationship with God to go, okay, like, yeah, that piece right there fitting with that piece over here kind of makes this mosaic of information we can work with to, like, break the spell. But it's like, if everybody's broken, man, everybody's up, everybody's gotta.
I do think there's people that exist in this world that are friends of God that don't harm anyone, and they haven't. That's a thing that's possible. It's a possibility for righteous people to exist and to also rule justly and to not do any harm. And I think that those people have existed. I still believe they exist today. I think when you hear someone like an Obama get up, as charming and as charming as he is, will dazzle the audience with all his talk, and then turn around and drop a bunch of bombs on kids in wherever in Syria. That I look at that the same way I would look at anyone whose actions are not matching their words. And unfortunately, most leaders in the modern day world, especially those who get up in the UN, are of that cloth.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think there's a difference between, like, lifetime, right? Like, you can, if you were to sit, and Obama's a perfect example, if you're to sit and listen to his resonance and his tones, and you realize that he is a full master of the prepared word, like sonically speaking, right? And that in itself is why, like, he does what he does. Has he ever said anything of value? I don't know, but I think that there's something that when these things get transcribed into the future, right? Like so when we look past forward, or forward from the present to the past, right? These things become sort of written texts, which I think removes them, so to speak, from the actual, like, context almost that they're in the sense that they're now living in as something separate, right? Do you get what I'm saying? Is yeah, if we go back, it's like, sure, again, is the ones that you speak of, we don't know who they are because they're off being benevolent without being recorded, because they wouldn't be recorded, right? Like
that's the point.
The true spiritual no harm shaman is living off in some pastoral thing with his people, ensuring their divine harmony. But I think in our world, right, for us, especially Western people, like we one of the things we have to do is be able to read through all these texts. And
yeah, I mean, I think Malcolm X would be a good example of someone that got close. And if you would say like anyone who was in like politics, and there might have been someone others. I'm not, I know people would say I'm probably playing favorites because he's a Muslim, but I believe there are probably some others that are like him. But I don't know of anyone quite like him in our time that actually had after he reformed, had a very clean record of consistently acting according to what he was saying, and according to his actions were very cohesive.
Buckminster Fuller, dude, takes them all to the mat. Yeah. Buckminster Fuller, dude, lived it, talked it, walked it.
So you got, so I mean, there's people in there, and maybe even some athletes and some other, doesn't necessarily need to be a political figure.
Well, no, I think that there's more of an interesting thing is where I think a lot of us have, and I see the trickery going on is people attaching to personalities. And I think anybody in like our modern sphere, you have to be wary of personality versus like the actual substance of what it is that's being produced. So to speak. I mean, look at all the people that still can't see the light of the Orange Man. Like how many giant red flags does that dude need to like throw up before people like really finally hear what YMCA is really the theme song of the thing?
How long ago did I tell you about Orange Man? A little while ago, I think.
Well, yeah, but it's like the thing is like, for me, it was a lot of picking the character of the script. But yeah, I think there's always a part of.
I had hope too. I was at a point, man. I was like, that guy. I like. What's funny is I still, if he used to come on right now and talk, I'll probably listen to him because he's just hilarious. He's like a character. But I don't.
Yeah, but he crossed.
I don't believe in anything that he said.
Put it this way: he crossed a weird line with the sauce thing. Even my pastor.
That absolutely. Yeah, no, that's.
Yeah, even my pastor, who's a gung hoer, is like, dude, like this guy he's got to drop the sauce talk, dude, and.
That was a big one. That was a big one where the guy asked.
I don't think there's any coming back for a lot of people. You can't.
No. Yeah, and come to think of it, that is a good point. But the what was it, Hannity or someone asked, did you get the booster? And he's like, yes. And you can tell he's totally just bullshitting. Excuse my language.
Well, so we watched. It's funny. So we watched the Eternals, right? The Marvel movie, The Eternals, right? Mm-hmm. It's full fun, like whatever, sci-fi, no big deal. I heard it was like sort of like whatever. I'm watching it. I'm in the fantasy land, and then the two dudes kiss each other. It's like a 10-second bit, and me and my wife, like, we're after the movie. We're like, yeah, I mean, it wasn't a bad movie, except that 10 seconds ruins the movie, dude. Like, you're just like, like, why did they have to put that in the middle of the movie? And I think it's the same thing. Like, you can go as far as like a sci-fi adventure Marvel movie. The Eternals is a good movie, except for 10 seconds. And that 10 seconds ruins the entire thing because it's, I don't want to be involved with it. I don't want to see it. I don't need to be a part of it. I'm never going to watch it again. And I think that that's exactly what the Orange Man did with his, that Saw stuff is like,
I agree.
People were like, no. And again, is he just didn't change his tune after Dum Dum Owens, like got in there on the mix when that was his way out, was like, she's, and I really do think that dude's poisoned the well for like a lot of people with just that alone. Finally, they're like, all right, kick rocks, dude. And that's the discernment, right? Like, yeah, you can be entertained and all these things too. It's very, I think it's a very
bear in the house.
Oh, the paraplegic bear, dude, just showed up, dude. Taka. But yeah, I think that's the hard part about it is discerning, separating these things from what they are, man. Like it's very tricky, especially with, you know, the media we absorb. You know, the very nature of this is, I mean, we're using, you know, equipment that came from the darkness. And all of these devices are tainted with eviler than evil could be.
Yeah.
You know?
They say this is a form of what's it called? Necromancy with the iPhone, because it's Anthony Patch talks about it. It's made of sand. You know, so what is it? Is it necromancy? Is it necromancy? What's that? Maybe that's the wrong thing. What is that, like divination in the sand with doing like,
that makes sense.
Signs in the sand and divination, and so this is sort of that same sort of.
No, we're casting spells all day long.
Exactly.
But I do. Well, that's what's interesting with Patch, right? Patch went so hard in the paint on the thing, and he was almost like a lot of these other dudes. I say, well, like, see, is like if you truly do are in faith with Jesus Christ as your personal savior, right? With Patch is the thing. Like, what are you worried about, dude? Like why? Like, I get it, but what are you so freaked out about? Like, okay, you can tell it, but like when he shut off his thing, like he got so paranoid about it. I was like, but that's not very like Christ. Like, you're not worried, right? It's like my pastor said, he's like what are they offering me? A quicker trip to heaven, dude? Like, what am I worried about, dude? And Patch's thing
that was always a, I guess, in the back of my mind, something too. I was like, well, why would you go off grid and go so hard off grid that fast, or that in that way? I guess I don't know,
because I listen, you know, the person I listen to a lot is Pastor Paul McGuire, right, on a podcast. He's as gnarly as Patch on a way different thing, and he's been on it forever, and he's like got the numbers and he's got the receipts too, and that dude's on his thing every like day, like coming. He ain't afraid. He isn't worried about a bunch of people hassling him, or like, he's right down here in Pasadena, dude. I've been to his services. Like, he ain't worried. So I kind of tripped when Patch just turned it all off. I was like, really? Like, that's not, how are you getting the message out, man? Like, what are you worried about, dude? Like, yeah. So I always get a little bit wary of anyone who's running too hard on the fear program, because how does that coincide with faith, right? I get being like alarmed and like, hey, I got to prepare and do all this stuff and get fired up, but when that thing takes on a whole level about it, that sort of Alex Jones lifestyle, if you will, I go, I don't know where that jives with God. Like, that seems to be
it's definitely a little too much.
Yeah, because I mean, me personally, I just don't see that God wants me to be like afraid of anything but falling out of grace with them, dude. Like, just don't abandon me. Like, be afraid of that, dude. Like, don't turn your back on me. Like, because then you should be terrified, but otherwise, like, we got this. Like,
Yeah, no, that's why running away right now, or relocating, migrating, whatever you want to call it, I don't think is the answer, because you still have to deal with that fear inside you of why you wanted to run in the first place. You need to sit and be still and make it work where you're at.
well, there's that, and then
Unless you live in like the middle of New York City or San Francisco.
But I also think there's a time when God's like, it's time to go. Like,
yeah,
here's it's what is that? It's the whole story of the guy in the river, right? With the flood. So there's a big flood coming, and the police cars come by, and they're like, hey, there's a flood coming. You want to ride out of here? And he's like, no, I'm waiting for God, dude. God's gonna rescue me. And then the water comes up, and he's sitting out on the bottom of the tree, and the boat comes up, and they're like, hey, man, you want to get in the boat? We're out. He's like, no, I'm waiting for God to rescue me. And then he's at the top of the tree, and the helicopter comes. The water's up to the top of the tree, and the helicopter comes, and they're like, hey, man, you want us to rescue you? And he's like, no, I'm waiting for God to rescue me. And then he drowns in the flood, and he's up in heaven. And he's like, God, why didn't you come to rescue me? And God's like, I sent a squad car. I sent a boat. I sent a helicopter. I tried to rescue you 3 times. Like, what are you doing? And I think there's that sort of weird thing going on where, like, I think God's so just constantly laying out the rose petaled path for us that we're just so caught up in just this thing that we don't see it sometimes. And sometimes that is to just like, all right, it's time to like move, man. Like, go. When
and if like oppression really does happen, and if Richie from Boston is accurate in his assumption what FEMA camps and force vax and all this stuff starts coming down, yeah, I mean, then there's you might want to start thinking about that. I'm not saying you, I'm saying all of us.
Well, I think there's a certain level of like, I don't get how you would know what the right thing to do is if you're operating on the fear quotient.
Yeah.
Like, if you're truly like I said, like the day after it all began, and I was like, oh my God, this is it. And they didn't blockade the highways with the military trucks and the tanks and all that stuff. I sort of was like, I'll never be that afraid again. Like, right, really like 2 years ago when it all began, is like the end of March there, I was like, all right, it's coming down, dude. They're going to shut it all down, and they're going to block everything, and they're going to do their dance. And then that didn't happen. And I was like, then you start digging into it, and they're too incompetent to pull it off. And now I don't care.
Yeah. Now it's like, could it be because the building out of the infrastructure and the new technology and the new products and all that stuff never ends. They're still building out the thing. Could it be that people are going to get the injection, and it'll be the slow burn, and then it'll just be whatever. It's that different divide will happen with society, and people will go this way, and those who want off will go this way, and it'll be it. There'll be a bunch of handmaidens or handmaids and slaves, and those who don't want to be a part of it, and we'll be fine. But I'm not worried about it either, man. I don't. We got bigger things to worry about. How our kids and how we're raising them. And
well, I think I do see it as like I've gotten. Thank you, William. I do see the aspect of like it is this building schools thing, and what that could be moving forward. There's a level of like, if it truly is about the children, then we need to build the infrastructure for them to nurture. And that's where I get very hopeful again and apply that sort of Bertaria technology to it all is like we have to be building our own infrastructures for our own spiritual selves, like just to be like men and women who actually like aren't waiting for anything anymore. Like we need to like, look at you. You're not waiting around. You got a new office going on your back. I can see all your bottles and stuff. And like, you're not sitting around waiting for them to do anything. You're off doing your thing, man, having children in hot tubs in your living room.
I love that you have that thing going. I think that's a great direction to do that, to start building that school there. I think I'd like to know more about that and see.
Yeah, it's the interesting thing is like how organic it all really is, I do think we've underestimated what we can do as human beings. And
all
right. Yeah.
Did you just say bear tardies? Bear tardies? Bear tards.
Oh, so I got a funny story on the way out, dude. Man. So my sister-in-law has been coming around. She's like had this big ideological, she's become super cool. So she comes around and, we're not a dog house, but she brings her little brown hairy dog. It looks like an Ewok, right? Little happy dog. Al loves him. It's all good. So, this is Mike the Mini Puma's house, right? So the other day, Mike's doing his cat thing. Like, and the dog's like, oh, yeah, like, let's play. And Mike's like, you know how cats are. And Owl's like, oh my God, like, oh, dude, Mike, and he's like tripping out. And I go, don't worry, man. All this dog needs is Mike to give him one swat to the nose. He'll stop thinking they're playing and they'll become buddies, right? He just needs to let him know it's Mike's house. So they laughed, and the big dog cat thing was going on. And so I'm after it. So the dog laughed, and I'm sitting there with Al. I go, look, man, I go, you don't need to worry about Mike. Like cats and dogs, like you don't got to worry about the cats. Dude, the cats run circles on the dogs. And I go, Mike, come on, man. Mike's been around dogs his whole life. And I go, my kitty will eat that dog, dude. Like, just don't have any doubt about it. If Mike needs to, Mike will eat that dog. So, right, like, so Owl was like, all right, Mike will eat the dog if it comes down to it. So we had the dog over just the other day. So the dog's over. We got Mike Kitty in the bedroom, right? He's sleeping on his bed, minding his own business. And Owl's running around making his like jewelry and stuff. And all of a sudden you hear like just the curdling scream of death. Owl screaming, like, and we're like, do you think the kid's hurt himself or something? We come running in, and he's like, I screwed up. I opened the door, and Mike's gonna eat the dog. And he's crying, and he's like, the little dog sitting there, dude, and he's like, Mike's gonna eat the dog. And it was just this like moment where I was sitting there like, oh, yeah, I sort of pushed that narrative a little hard. I thought I was reassuring him the cat was safe, but I so reassured him the cat was safe that he thought the dog was going to get eaten by the cat, dude. And he was terrified. Poor little dude accidentally opened the door, run around doing his thing, and just screaming, oh, the cat's going to eat the dog. It was so good, dude. It was one of those priceless moments of like, wow, like I did it. I really done messed up this time, didn't I? Because my sister-in-law and my wife were just like, what'd you do? You told him the cat was going to eat the dog. I was like, it was harmless. I was just wanting to ensure the cat was safe, dude.
Or keeping it safe goes wrong. Or when keeping it safe goes wrong.
Yeah, when keeping it safe goes wrong.
That sounds like the whole COVID narrative when
Oh,
keeping it safe
dude.
goes wrong.
Oh, I had a buddy today call me up and just be like, I got the coof. I'm like, let me bring over the black seed oil and all the stuff, dude. He's like, are you sure? I go, yeah, I don't care. He's like, I'm like, come here, get you. I drove over to his house with my whole kit of zinc and stuff and my big bottle of black seed oil. And I'm like, come here. He's like, I go, I'm not worried about it. I live off of this stuff, dude. Look it up. I'm not worried about your little cough, bro. It was
This, maybe this is for another day. I don't want to get into it now, but this has been the hardest thing for me is like, yeah, I'll save it for next time.
All right.
It's going to be the whole conversation. Hey, bro, thank you.
I love you, brother.
I love you too, man.
God has blessed us, man. And give the new baby a big from us up here.
We'll do.
I can't wait to get the boys together here real soon.
Make it happen, man.
Okay.